Hello, Sci-Fi Valley Con family. This is Samurai Jill back with Greg Baldwin.
Hello, my friend. Good to see you again.
2 years in a row. You like Sci-Fi Valley Con so much you had to come back, huh?
I can't get enough of Pennsylvania. It's beautiful. I mean, really, Pennsylvania is quite beautiful.
The trees.
Yeah,
and this is in autumn.
I would love to come visit
in
autumn.
Yes.
Yeah, and the people here are nice, and it's a very well-run, con, well-attended. Yeah, I can't believe they asked me back.
Aww.
Once I show up someplace, I very seldom. That's like Usually there's a police order not to come back, so it's all good.
Well, we had to have you back with Phil Lamar, this little Samurai Jack reunion. I mean, I am very excited, as you can see.
You are dressed as my hated foe.
Well,
this interview is over.
Well, it is actually my favorite show of all time. So
of course, I do have a lot of heart in Avatar, but I would have to say Samurai Jack. And honestly, you know what? If you're a fan of one, it sort of follows because in many ways they are sort of companion pieces.
Yes.
Stylistically, there is nothing like Samurai Jack that has ever been.
It's the most gorgeous animation.
You could take you could freeze any frame and you could slap it on your wall as art. Literally, the whole thing is art. And I think I don't know if I told you the story because sometimes they would do an episode where there was no dialogue at all.
Mm-hmm.
This being Genndy Tartakovsky, the genius it is, it was so well, the storybook, story, is that what they call it? I forget. In any case, they would send along when they send out, here's your script, you also want to see how we're going to film it. You want to see, for some reason, it's a technical term that is completely escaping me. I'm old, but the book, shot by shot list. I said, sure, yeah, they send this all the time. I'll take it, sure, but you send it on. I ran out. It was like that thick. And this is for a 22-minute show.
Oh, my gosh.
Just a shot-by-shot, illustration of what he wanted to do. But that's what that show was. And that's what it needed and the cuts were so fast,
Well, Jack is a man of few words, and Aku laughs a lot. I feel like half your dialogue is just that evil, that laugh. Well, you also recorded for the video game, right? Samurai Jack Battle Through Time.
I did.
How is that different than the show?
Oh, that was one of the most weird experiences of my life. My wife and I lived in LA for 30 years. We moved back to New Mexico, where I was born, in March of 2020. So the world stopped 2 weeks later.
Oh, right.
And we shot the promo for Battle Through Time. They wanted to do a promo of Aku playing the game, of me as Aku playing the game.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
And they would, it's a promo. But it was the middle of COVID.
Right.
It was worth a USC film school education. What they did, LA, they sent us they sent us the lights, they sent us the cameras, they sent everything to my house in Albuquerque. And my wife and I were essentially everything. We were on a Zoom call with the director and all the people in LA, but we literally were decorating the set, arranging the shots. Literally, I would be sitting down to play the game with the clapper. And I would go, okay, this is take da-da-da, clap, put that out of the way, and then start playing Aku, playing the game. So,
do I get a raise for all this extra work?
Oh
my gosh.
You know what? I would have done it for free because it was fascinating to see, all of the people that ordinarily would have been involved with this, except my wife and I were doing it all. It was quite memorable. A very memorable day. It's good to have a good
support system too. We all need an assistant.
And it was, if there were any good memories of the COVID lockdown era, that would certainly be one of them.
So one thing I enjoyed about the video game is that it offers an alternate ending to the show. The show's ending is very bittersweet.
Indeed it is.
Jack accomplishes his goal, but he loses his love. But in the game, if you collect all the collectibles, there's an alternate ending where they live happily ever after because of like a pocket dimension. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. Right? I did not know that.
I didn't collect the collectibles, and it's like, so I had to look it up on YouTube.
Wow.
But I'm like,
I'm gonna have to collect the collectibles.
Right?
It's a good game too. It's a really good game.
I had a lot of fun with it. It felt like I was playing the show, and it hit all the earlier episodes. It brought back so many characters. I was like, that was a great companion piece to the show.
Let me ask you this though. This will blow your mind. Who is the bigger mass murderer, Aku or Jack?
Well, that's a good one. Oh.
Jack erases a timeline of spoiler alert. It's been a long time. If you haven't seen it by now, too
I know,
bad.
it's been 7 years, right? Come on.
he erases a timeline with billions and billions of people who will never be born.
So that was, if I had my perfect ending to the show, honestly, even though his goal was to get back to the past, it was like all the friends he made along the way, all the lives he saved. It's sad that they won't exist.
They won't exist anymore,
Without Aku's influence, they might never have come to that planet, you know. So
there was good in all of us, even Aku. But unless I'm wrong, the very last shot in the show is of, you think it's the little ladybug that he sees.
Yes. It's like a cherry blossom tree, a ladybug.
But the ladybug are also Aku's colors.
Right.
So was it Ashi or was it Aku?
So it leaves it a little open ending there, which I always enjoyed that. So Samurai Jack is, well, I would have said he was the ultimate hero, but you just made me question.
I know.
I'm rethinking everything.
I know, now your mind is blown. Everything you thought was true, man.
He attempts to be heroic, and Aku is like the perfect villain. But Iroh, who you also voiced, he's somewhere in between those. You know, he was...
Yes, because Iroh is not perfect.
Right.
People think of him as
flawed.
perfect. Iroh is actually a war criminal by any definition, yes.
But he's a good uncle, and so if Iroh were thrown into the Samurai Jack universe, whose side do you think he would take?
You know, people like to say, who would win if Iroh and Aku got into a fight? And Avatar people want me to say Iroh, but the fact of the matter, unless he has the sword, Iroh is toast. Right. Iroh is toast. Aku just has to look at him, and he's a pile of ash on the floor. But I think Iroh is very clever.
Yes.
And I think Iroh would talk to Aku and say, "Oh, great Aku, you have such an interesting voice. The tone of your voice seems oddly familiar to me, and yet somehow relaxing, like a cup of tea." And I think Aku could be flattered into, "Oh, you're not so bad, you tea-guzzling fool. Come in, let's visit."
He could almost be a mediator between the two of them. That's the kind of guy Iroh is. He understands both sides. Yes.
Well, I actually would love to have. I'd love to have to see this as an art, to have it commissioned sometime. The scene where Aku is both the therapist and the patient.
Yes. Love that. Yes,
I would love to see Aku's on the couch, but the therapist is Iroh. Right?
So many artists here. Someone needs to draw that.
Someone needs to draw it. Yes. I've got to see it, man.
Aku might have been different if he had Iroh as a therapist.
Maybe that might have made the change. That might have made all the difference.
I love that. So, like I said, Samurai Jack, my favorite show of all time. What was one of your favorite shows growing up?
Batman.
Oh, classic. Yep.
You see, but I grew up in a very different era. I know that when I was a kid, I loved Batman and Lost in Space. But this was a huge. See, Batman was two 30-minute episodes. One, I think, Tuesday night and one Wednesday night. It would always end with a cliffhanger. Tune in tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. The problem was it was a half-hour show. The last half hour of Batman conflicted with the full hour of Lost in Space. This was in an era where there were no VCRs, so you had to make a choice.
Oh man!
And that was
Batman came out on top.
Usually, almost always. Almost always, because you want to know if they're going to get. Even though you knew they were going to get out of the jam. One of the coolest. I didn't speak to him because I was so fanboyed. I never actually worked with Adam West, but I was going into a recording booth as he was coming out, and I was just like, "Oh my God, this is Batman! This is Batman, man!"
Everybody gets starstruck sometimes,
right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So you've also done a lot of video game voice work. I actually heard you recently. I was playing Fallout 4.
Fallout 4.
Yes. Have you? And that's been experiencing a resurgence of popularity because of the show. Have you felt the effects of that yet?
Absolutely. That's why Proctor Teagan. I have a picture of him now.
Nice. Good.
And I do have to say, there seems to have they've had a hard time figuring out how to adapt video games for film. Mm-hmm. And I think starting with The Last of Us and continuing with Fallout, they're figuring that out.
Yes.
Which makes me feel. For years, another game I was in called BioShock. Years they've been talking about a film version of it, and I've always been like, do we really want that? But I think in the right hands, I think that could be made. It takes someone
that loves it and understands it, but also understands what's going to work.
I think that's what we've learned, that you can make a compelling film out of a video game. The problem with BioShock, I don't know what the twist. They would have to have a secret twist in it, and it would have to be secret because everybody knows the video game twist. Again, spoiler alert, It's been 20 years, too bad. I loved it. I love being part of it. I've never played the Fallout. Mm-hmm. And now I think I might have to go back and play it because I'm so intrigued by that world that they built,
it came across beautifully
Yeah.
in the TV show. That's what got me into the game.
Yeah.
I was like, I want more of this.
Well-
and then I got into it. I heard your voice, and I was like, he sounds familiar. I think I know that guy.
You know what though? But you know what? He looks exactly like. Every time I look at that character, it's like he looks like Lin-Manuel Miranda. Tell me I'm wrong.
Right,
Oh, he's
does.
not up there. But
He
tell
does,
me I'm
you're
wrong.
right.
He looks like Lin-Manuel Miranda.
You're so right.
You expect him to break into Hamilton at any moment, you know. I'll sell you some weapons and a song. Here we,
So you've also done a couple Star Wars Clone Wars
Mm-hmm.
voices. Jedi Master Tara Sinube.
Yes, my favorite.
And I thought, he teaches Ahsoka the meaning of patience, which is a very Iroh thing. You play a lot of kind of similar characters, I feel.
I
They
know.
would get along.
Which is odd because I'm not a terribly patient man by nature, really.
You're patient with me for these
All right.
interviews.
Oh, that's good. I'm not terribly. People sometimes they make the mistake of thinking that I am wise and kind and like and I always say I'm as wise as any 63-year-old who's been paying attention is going to be. But
A lot of wise old warriors,
Yeah.
though, definitely.
I am not. I am not Iroh, but I'm not Aku either. Thankfully.
Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, and aren't we all? We're all somewhere in between Iroh and Aku.
Well, if you could play any character in the Star Wars universe, live action, what kind of, would you, Jedi, Sith, where would you fall, do you think?
I've always had a soft spot for the Empire because they're kind of cool.
They are, though.
They're just kind of cool.
When a bad guy's cool,
Yeah.
it's like, well, you can't help but love him.
I would very much love to see. I would love to voice Tara Sinube in possibly an Ahsoka live
You
action.
never know.
Yeah.
The Star Wars universe keeps growing. Hey, I'd love to see him in live action.
I know that he was pictured on the one sheet for Tales of the Jedi. And some friends of mine called me up and said, "Hey, are you voicing Tara Sinube?" I said, "No," and I assumed I'd been replaced. But he didn't speak in the series. Why is he in the poster if you never intend? And I literally read an article the other day about most underutilized Jedi, and he was like number 2 on the list. I mean, if you're going to invent a Jedi that's got a lightsaber in his cane,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, use him more than I want to see more of him. Yeah,
I agree. All right, last question. What is one piece of advice you would give to aspiring voice actors?
I was 46 when I was cast as Iroh, and my very first voiceover agent, when I first met with her, said, I'm going to, at the time I think I was 44, and she said, I'm going to take you on, but this is sort of under duress. You're too old to get started in this business. I think it's a mistake. Former agent, by the way.
I was going to say, that's bad. That's one piece of bad advice.
Former agent. I would say there's a lot of technical things that I could tell people to do, but there's lots of websites and smarter voice actors than I am that can tell you how to do that. But what I could say is don't give up, persevere, no matter what. If it's your passion and if it's what you want, as Iroh said, follow your passion and life will reward you. Don't ever take no for an answer. Keep knocking at that door. If the door is locked, then go in through the basement window. Find a way in.
And don't listen to the naysayers.
Don't ever listen to anybody tell you can't do it.
Yes.
No.
Greg, thank you so much for your time. We're so happy to have you back.
The pleasure is
Come meet Greg
mine.
Baldwin this weekend at Sci-Fi Valley Con.
I look forward to it.